Hey guys, it's been a while. 8 months ago I gave birth to a little Lucy bug, so I have been on maternity leave and giving her all my attention, undivided. But I've been reading all your comments, and I have been overwhelmed by the fact that you guys have been using some of my tips and that they've been helping you, and that I've been getting this positive feedback from you guys. And of course all your questions. I don't know if I said this before, but it's been overwhelming and very motivating, so thank you. And it has inspired me to challenge myself. I would like to do this thing where once a week I hope I can do this, but once a week I answer one of your questions and I post them every Sunday. And this way I hope that this will also help me to get back into making videos and hopefully make me a little bit less nervous. So yeah. So the first question I decided to answer today is a question from Sarah Efes. She asks, Susie, would you please make a video about teaching grammar to adults? I mean, how do you teach grammar to adults? So, if anybody else was wondering this question, and I'm sure they are because grammar is a very big topic when it comes to teaching languages, and my main answer is, I don't teach grammar. Dun, 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 dun. I don't teach grammar for a couple of reasons. First of all is English is my first language because I grew up in an English-speaking country. I don't really think that we were taught grammar the same way people are taught grammar in as a second language, because I don't really remember the rules, or I don't know, there are these kind of the rules that first conditional, second conditional, I don't even really know what that means. But yeah, so I didn't learn that, but when learning a second language, which is Polish, I knew a bit of Polish from home, but it was a very like a broken Polish, so it was I called it a kitchen language, so it was a pass me this, what are we eating for breakfast kind of thing, mixed with, I would speak to my parents a little bit in Polish and a little bit in English. And I only learned the language when I came to Poland. I mean, learned it like properly. And I feel like this is going to be a long story. How can I shorten it? Basically, I learned the language not through sitting with a grammar book, and Polish grammar is apparently quite difficult. I learned the language by speaking, by making mistakes, having people correct me, through reading and through writing. And although in the beginning it was really bad, and people were laughing when I'd say something because they said I spoke like a little child, so I made similar mistakes to small children. But what ended up happening is, as I would speak, I would notice that something is wrong without somebody having to correct me, just because I had never read that sentence in that form before, or heard anybody say it. So making mistakes became a natural, and I believe that this can be for any language. Another example, when I began teaching, a lot of my students had been learning English for a very long time. A lot of them started learning English already in preschool or in primary school, and although they were adults, they were over 25, they had trouble speaking. And they had trouble speaking because at school they had put all their energy and focus into grammar. And before my students could say something, they'd be thinking about all the different rules and which verb, subject, whatever goes where, what time they have to use. Is it the past, present, simple, continuous? And this would block them from speaking. And what I was trying to express to them was that it doesn't really matter if you say it wrong. What matters is that you can just say it. And that if they do say it wrong, then I can always just correct them. And then they'll just know how to say it correctly for the next time. So that's why I have this, I'm not friends with grammar. Just because I see that it's made my students' lives difficult. I actually wrote down a couple of points here, just so that I can stay on track. Another example is just like to think of how babies learn to speak a language. Parents don't sit with their baby and discuss grammar rules with them. Babies learn by listening. So in the beginning they don't speak, but they listen a lot. They listen, they watch your mouth, they hear conversations, and then only do they start to speak. And often when they speak, they have funny accents, they don't use the right words, they pronounce words differently, and their parents correct them over and over until they start speaking correctly. So here they haven't used any words, but once they're, I don't know, different children start talking at different ages, but they finally do start speaking, and by the time they go to school, they already know the language without any books. However, I also had students who were really adamant to learn grammar, and these students, they tried to explain to me that it was really important for them to know why you say a certain sentence in this way and not in another way. And for these students, there were usually two different options in regarding lessons with me. The first option was I would recommend a book, a grammar book. I think it's called English Grammar in Use. The reason why I like this book, I also use their vocabulary in use, and there's a whole series that I sometimes work with. If students really want to work with a book, I will post a link in the description. But what's nice about these books is that there are not exercises. I think it's called Mom Brain or Nappy Brain that I have. On the one page there would be examples, and then on the other page there would be exercises. And at the end of the book there would be answers. So these books were great for giving students homework, or just for students who wanted to work with books so that they could do it at home on their own. I am not an advocate of using books on my lessons, just because I personally believe that talking and speaking skills are the most important part, especially if you've got 1 or 2 hours of speaking a week. So if students want to work with a book, I recommend a book that they can buy. Then they can go home and work with this book alone at home. And if they have any questions, then they can discuss that with me on the lesson. Another thing some of my students do who enjoy conversation lessons with me is that they have 1 hour a week with me, and then 1 hour a week with a Polish English teacher who knows how to teach grammar, just so then they have grammar once a week with this teacher and then conversation lessons with me. And I think that for students who are stuck on wanting to learn grammar, this is a great solution. So if you have the guts, that's something that you could suggest to your students if you also don't feel like grammar is your forte. So yeah, keep your questions coming. It's great to hear from you, and I will answer another question next week. Hold me accountable to that. Thank you. Okay guys, so have a great week and see you next week. Bye!